Hi, I'm Mikata, and this is the story of my solo self-found Leap Attack Barbarian who fights with the Ubers. I wanted to try this challenge run and see if it's possible to beat the Ubers with Leap Attack. I did it, kind of, so I hope you stay with me until the end to see where I failed. My starting gear was a Delirium Helm, a Treachery, and a Heart Carver. In this challenge run, my goals were to reach level 80, to gather the keys, and hopefully to find some runes, so I can build a Lawbringer, or Duress Armor, or even a Kingslayer sword. I started with the Countess as her area at the lowest level. I was trying to clean the mobs, any boss groups that I find. I wanted to collect the keys, and I also wanted runes. To achieve the most of this, I was killing the Countess herself mostly on players 1. It took me more than 6 hours to collect all 3 keys that I needed initially. It turned out that I needed another set of 3 keys, a bit more on that later on. The most notable runes I found for that time were a Lem rune and a single Io rune. Next on the list was the Summoner, who was rather generous. He's pretty easy to kill, so I was able to kill him only on player's 8, and I got the keys in something like 45 minutes. He also dropped a couple of items that turned out to be very important for my run. This was the Rattle Cage, Gothic Armor, and the Crown of Thieves. Last but not least was Nil Attack, who was a bit more challenging than the Summoner, but still easier to get through compared to the Countess. And I think I spent something like 2 hours to get all 3 keys that I needed. Once I got the keys, I decided to give my Ubers a try. It was Friday night and I was a bit tired after work, but still I gave it a go. I decided to use my Immortal King Ogre Maul together with the Lawbringer with the Rhyme Shield, so I have Decrepify and cannot be frozen, and with the Treachery Armor. The Treachery turned out to be also a very bad choice for 2 reasons. First, the Fade proc. I spent enormous time on the barbecue in Act 4 in the River of Flames. It was just a pain. And the second one was Venom, because as it shortened the poison length, this allowed the bosses, the Ubers, to regenerate. I opened the Forgotten Sands portal and headed into my duel fight. Very early on, I figured that his regeneration outpaces the damage I was doing. My attacks were pretty slow with the leap attack and I was not always hitting. Even the Decrepify curse did not help much. I switched my build. I respect into a concentrate barbarian, again using the Lawbringer War Scepter that I had, but it did not help. At the end, I gave up on this run and left the whole ordeal for the next day. On Saturday, I had to find the 3 keys that I wasted the previous night. This time I was pretty lucky. I did the 3 bosses only on player's 8, and I was able to collect the additional keys in 10 to 15 minutes. I also rewatched the video by Stubbornly Undergeared, who does a similar soul self-found or very budget Ubers run as a barbarian, and he uses a Malice rune word so he can apply open wounds and prevent the Ubers from regeneration. My first fight was with the Izual. I found him in the Furnace of Pain and then started cooking myself on the barbecue. I was able to defeat him as a Leap Attack Barbarian. It was pretty straightforward this time. I intentionally did not proc Venom, so the poison damage that I had on a charm was enough to outpace or to keep his regeneration at bay. Second was Lilith. Something I did for the Lilith fight was to keep my town portal in an adjacent room. This allowed me to keep her regeneration again at bay when I headed back to town to refill my potions. I died a couple of times in this fight, and in the end I decided to switch to Frenzy so I can apply quickly the Decrepify from the Lawbringer and the Open Wounds from the Malice. While I was editing this clip, I noticed that by mistake I put my points into Blade Mastery instead of the Mace Mastery. So that's one of the reasons it took a bit longer than I expected. Last from the mini Ubers was Duriel, who once again, compared to the Lilith fight and the previous day, he was pretty straightforward this time. I was using the Lawbringer, the Crushing blow from the Rattle Cage. Everything was fine. Final steps were the Ubers. It was almost 2 AM, so I put myself on the barbecue once again. That was a necessity for the Mephisto fight. I also had the ground helm. I used my single IO rune to craft that, and it helped me a lot with the Mephisto lightning damage. I started with Malice and Leap Attack, but once again it did not apply the open wounds quick enough, so I had to switch to Concentrate to shorten that by a big margin. Next was Diablo, who was maybe the easiest of all the bosses I fight. I was able to defeat him with Leap Attack and my Lawbringer. For the Baal run it was almost 3 AM, so I had given up on barbecuing my Barbarian, and I was like, whatever, I think I have good enough resists for the Baal fight, let's give it a try. The fight was easier than the Mephisto fight, maybe a bit harder, a bit longer probably than the Diablo fight. To finish Baal off I used Malice and Concentrate. Maybe I could have pulled off Baal with Leap Attack, but again it was getting too late and I really wanted to get into bed. A very quick gear check, as I have already mentioned a lot of the items. Malice, Rattle Cage, Crown of Thieves, Rhyme Shield, Angelic, Amulet and Ring, boots with Lightning Crest, Crushing Blow, gloves and Open Wounds belt. In my stash I had a Ground Helm, Delirium for pre-buff, Treachery and a Lawbringer. And now it's time to see what the torch actually is. Drum rolls, please. I need to work on my editing skills. So the torch was a Barbarian one, 2011. Pretty good. I hope this summary was interesting. The whole run, the whole challenge run was more tedious than I expected. I expected this to be way easier and to finish this way earlier. You can see on the timer it's above 15 hours. If you have other ideas of challenge runs, being endgame or playthroughs, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.